Good evening, and welcome to the Blue Tweezers channel for Tweezer Tuesday. And just got a bit of a change in the game roster here. And unfortunately, we won't have the dulcet tones of Pat Mullen for this evening. You're just stuck with me, I'm afraid. And we'll be looking at a different game, not the Great War in Europe. So we will get back to that when Pat's back. But it's just me. So I'm just going to do a solo playthrough of a little game I've been playing about with, which I was rather impressed with. It's the Race to the Sea 1914, and it was a game out of Yar magazine. And in fact, its Vassal version was, the magazine issue that it was part of electronically was free earlier in the lockdown. So I did look to see and get hold of it, and I've only just started to have a look at it, and so it's a little bit intriguing. So I thought I'd, as a replacement this evening, we'd have a look at this, and we hopefully get back to Great War in Europe back on Tweezer Thursday. So anyway, I'm just going to put in a live tweet for this playthrough. So bear with me for a second. And the link for everybody. And ready to go. Right. So yes, if anybody's on the stream, just let me know that I can be, you can hear me. Be much appreciated. And yeah, so we'll be cracking on with Rachel C instead, and you should be able to see the Vassal board in front of us. That's the main board here to the left, and so the game simulates the Race to the Sea towards the end of 1914. Once the Battle of the Marne had been completed, and it's essentially the Allies and the German armies trying to outflank each other, and then they end up at the North Sea coast, and the trenches all settle in for a long period. So if we look at the map here, right down the bottom in the center, you'll see some blue, just a little bit half hex here with blue trench line markings, and one full hex with black. So those are unplayable hexes, and they effectively represent the current end of the line, if you like, of the entire rest of the front line. And as you can see up at the top, we've got the North Sea and the Belgian and French coast there, Calais, Dunkirk, Ostend, etc. So if you might be able to just see this very thin dotted red line which runs up the mid-center of the map. That is actually the historical end point of the Race to the Sea. So everything to the left became Allied, everything to the right became German army controlled. So and at the start of the game, that's also the case. So those hexes are actually controlled by each side on this red line, and the winning, if you like, is all about trying to get over that line and have your own, get extra territory than historically happened. Okay, so and as far as terrain goes, we have open terrain, which is the various browns. We have wooded terrain, which is also known as difficult terrain, which costs 2 movement points rather than 1. And we have the rivers, the blue hexsides, which is again causes difficult terrain, and crossing it is an extra movement point. And then we have towns, which are the little grey dots. The blue are cities, and the red are major cities. And they provide a level of cover in combat known as light, medium, and heavy. And that's pretty much it. The different shades of brown are about elevation, and that's relevant in some combats. Another thing just to go through here is the the units themselves. So looks like your standard 3-value units here. Usual attack, defense, movement, and in fact that's actually completely incorrect. So the 3 values actually stand for rifles, machine gun, and artillery. And it's a level between 1 and 4, 1 being the lowest, 4 being the greatest. There are other symbols on there. Of course, the center symbol denotes whether it's infantry or cavalry. They kind of cause armies down to brigades kind of level. And at the top, not only do we have the name, but we also have a number of squares. And that's the size of the unit, and that goes from 1 to 4 as well. So everything's 1 to 4 on this. Additionally, we have a letter to the left, which is A, B, C, or D, and that's the quality. They call the MET value. I think it's equipment training, morale, equipment, and training value, but it's effectively a morale value. And then to the right, we have a little artillery symbol. Now, that artillery symbol might not exist, in which case there's no heavy artillery. If the artillery symbol exists, it does have heavy artillery. And if you've got an artillery symbol with an SQ, it means that it's a French unit with a lot of the 75mm quick-firing guns, the 75 artilleries. And these factors are all relevant in the combat. The combat is either fire or assault. To assault, you actually have to move into the opponent's hex. Fire, you just have to be adjacent. And so all those values are very relevant, but there's no movement factor there. So the movement factor is 3 for everything, with the exception of cavalry in what's known as scouting mode. Now, because I'm doing this as a Simo, thanks for letting us know that you're there, and just let me know that I'm coming through loud and clear, because as I say, I might be talking to myself here, and it's not coming through on the stream. So if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great. So the movement factor is 3, except 5 for scouting cavalry. So cavalry have 2 modes, known as deployed or scouting. Now, scouting is there because there's some hidden information. So you can flip the normal infantry units over to their other side. If I do that here, so normally that would just blank out with the little symbol of the the German symbol in the corner, and you wouldn't see anything else. I'm playing the solo version of this, so I can see everything, so it's not really relevant. And because of that, there's not really a lot of point in cavalry being in scouting mode. So that's the only exception. So effectively, everything just has 3 movement points at the moment. Okay, so just a sequence of play, to run through that quickly. So we actually have 10 turns in the game. We start turn 1 and go up to turn 10 at the top there. And the sequence of play, if I just get the reference card out and show you here. So first things that happens is reinforcements, then it's the initiative deck setup. So it's card assisted, this game. So each side has a stack of cards. That's the French, and this is Germans. Don't worry, I'll move these out of the way once. And in the actual game, what's meant to happen is you put one card away for the turn, so it doesn't actually exist, and then you have a hand of the rest of the cards. Now, of course, we're going solo here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw randomly for each side, and each round of the turn, you will compare those numbers, and they're between 2 and 5. And those numbers mean is the amount of activations you're allowed. An activation is 1 unit. You can activate a unit once in a round, and you put an activated marker on top of it to know you've done it, and you get that number depending on what card you drew. And if you have a discrepancy in the value, then whoever has the initiative, they will go first. They will do their activations first. If there is a discrepancy of 2 or more between the 2 cards, then that initiative player can actually play the 2 or the 3 activities together, actions together, and that can mean that you can do some intense combats as well. When you run out of when you do all your activations on those cards, then those cards are discarded, and you play your next card for the next round. When you run out of cards, that's the end of the turn. So that's how the turn works. Just other sequence of play things. So we've got these action rounds, as I said, and at the end you have an end turn phase. You have a check for Siege of Antwerp. So at the moment, there's the game starting here. The Germans are actually sieging Antwerp, and it will fall at some point in the game. And it's basically a card check, to a random check to see if it's ended. Also, at some point, Marshal Foch will take over command of the northern area of the front. And that means that the strategic initiative changes. So at the start of the game, the Germans have the strategic initiative. And then with Foch taking command, it flips to the French. Now, what strategic momentum, not strategic command, strategic momentum. What that means is when you get a card draw and they're the same, the side with that strategic momentum will get 1 activation only, and then you do the cards again. So there's a bit of an advantage there, which will flip to the French when Foch takes command. And again, that's a random per turn check. Then we have Force March, which is the ability to move some units 1 hex, possibly 2. And then there's a planned operations deployment, which is a special event, resolve a special event, which is kind of like an initiative on its own. And then we move on to the next turn. So that's the sequence of play there. And the final thing I want to show you is the combat cards. So let's get that out of the way. So they've been sitting in here, and there's 2 decks. And the combat cards, there are no dice. There's no dice rolls in this. You pull a card for each combat you're doing, either an assault or a fire combat, and the other side pulls a card as well. And they've got 4 sections: attack and defense for fire, attack and defense for assault, and you compare the values. And I'm not going to go through it right now. We'll do it as part of the gameplay. You'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. Also, it gives you a random event, a random number in the corner, which is relevant for things like the Foch take command or the Siege of Antwerp. And also, some cards have an event emblazoned over the top of the card. If both cards have that event, we look at a combination of the 2 random numbers on the cards and check a random event table to see what happens. And finally, down here, we have this is the chip pool area with the casualties, casualty markers. So when you take a casualty, you take one of these markers and you put it underneath the combat unit of the casualty. They are 2-sided. There's a heavy casualty side, so if you take another hit, you flip it over. You can only take as many casualties as the size of the unit. So if it's a two-size unit, then if it goes to heavy casualties, it'll actually be removed and eliminated. And those can be removed by doing a regroup. which is removing casualties from particular units. It's an activation, but not an activation to move, fire, or assault. It's a different activation there. Yes, and these will have detrimental values for the front of the counter as well. Right, so that's about all I wanted to do. So yeah, if everybody's ready, we'll crack on. So first thing we do is we check the initiative. We put the discarded cards through here, and oh, actually no, we don't. The first thing we do, I think, is yeah, we need to place some units here at the start. Yeah, so these units up in the sea here, those are the ones that are in Antwerp at the moment, and they may come on the hexes, which are marked A at some point during the game. However, we have some units here, which I think the Germans have placed, and I think the French can be placed within 2 hexes of Amiens. So let's get those sorted. These are just small territorial brigades, so I think we will maybe pop them and a cavalry maybe there as well. Okay, I think that's all we can do. I'm just going to check the game setup so I'm not doing anything silly. I'm missing something out. Okay, game setup. Oh no, so these start in Amiens. I had that wrong. Then we have, yeah, there are other, are they part of the turn 1 reinforcements? I think so. 13th, 14th. No, they're not. Oh, yes, I know where they are. So if we look at the at start, this is the eliminating at start. So these guys are anywhere south of the Somme and west of the front line. So we bring those on here. Let's look at these. 2 decent. There's a corps there. There's a small corps and a small reserve corps. So I think first up, I think we'll need to put these guys south of the Somme, and that is south of the Somme. These guys are fixed, and with the Germans, yeah, I think those are fixed for the Germans, so they're there. Start with. You'll see these are false report markers. This is the ability to create dummies. Again, we're not really going to use those. There is this cavalry unit. Where are we supposed to put that? Can't actually see where. Ah, yes, that starts. So within 2 hexes is Saint-Quentin. So we'll probably start there, I think. That's safe. Actually, no, maybe up there, because we may get that unit to move in on the first turn. So yeah, just on that bend in the river, I think it's the best place. Right, so we're ready to go. And the start of the turn, that starts with... so initiative deck setup we've done. Reinforcements we've got to come in. So on the first turn, there is actually reinforcements. We look here, and that's the turn marker. We've got these German reinforcements, and we've got these French. So they can come in a variety of places. At the start, the French these 3 French units come on what's known as the South Hex, which is here. So they come on here. The Germans, again, there is some change, but mostly they either come on at La Fère, which is down here, or they come on this rail line in the middle, Cambrai, Valenciennes, Mons, and they are placed 1 per hex on those cities, with the exception of Mons, which can take as many as you like. So 1 each in Cambrai, 1 Valenciennes. So let's get some of the let's get the big army up front. We'll put that one in Valenciennes, and these 2 we will move to Mons. Okay, that's done. Now we have the Allied railroad movement. So there's the ability on their side of the front line to move by rail up to 4 size worths. So this corps here is 3. So if we move him, he can move to any other city or town on the rail net. So I think we'll move him up to Albert, and we've got 1 spot left. So we could move one of these, possibly the cavalry. I think move up to Arras. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we've got the Allied movement done, and yeah. Julian, hi. Yeah, sorry. I'm just focusing on it. Yeah, as we don't actually have Pat Mullen for tonight. He's otherwise engaged, and so you're stuck with me. And because we can't play that game, I'm just running through a solo playthrough of Race to the Sea 1914, and a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy having a look at it. I've been through a few of the rules, but if you missed them, I'm going to crack on, and you'll catch up. It's fairly straightforward. You'll catch up as I go through. Right. So just checking. The next thing is the bid initiative card. So this is the first card we're going to do for the turn. So this is our 2 hands here. And as I said before, because it's solo, I'm just going to draw these randomly. Normally you'd have that whole hand available and you'd pick one of the cards. The cards are just numbered 2 to 5, and that's the number of activities in the action round. So the Allied card played is a 2, that's the lowest. German is a 3. So that's an initiative of 1 on the German side. So the German will go first, but they'll only have 1 activity, 1 action before they actually have to pass to the French. So it'll be German action, French action, German action, French action, then German action, the last one. And each of those you can activate 1 unit. So let's get these guys out of the way. And so Germans go first, and I think what we want to do is we want to close up this line. So we will activate this unit here for a movement. You can move 3. That's 1 and that's 2. Zocs in this game are known as no man's land, and so if you move into a no man's land, you have to stop. You can go from one no man's land to another, as in move from Zoc to Zoc. However, you can only do it if you're screened, as in that hex you're moving to actually has a unit already there. So that's the activation, the first activation of the German side. So on the French side, what should we do here? So we really need to get this guy in and available. So what we'll do is we'll go 1, 2, 3 for him, and we'll activate him as well. So now we've had 1 activation each, and the unit you've activated, you can't activate again in the same round. So those guys are kind of used for the moment. I think possibly on the German side, we'll need to get this guy in as well, and I think we'll activate him and move him to there. Now we've got a little bit of a weakness here with the cavalry, and the French may be able to exploit that, but we've also got a hole here as well to deal with. So on the French side, I think what we'll do, we'll actually fire at this cavalry unit from this corps. So we go over to the combat cards, and we compare their ratings with what the combat card throw up. So we pull one for the Allied combat and one for the German combat. You see this event word at the top. If they both had event, then there would be an event. Just one card having event means nothing. So we had a firepower attack from the Allied side, and then we have a firepower defense on the German side. So here it says if the artillery is 3 to 4, then 1 hit for the Allied side and 1 hit if higher elevation. So here we are higher elevation because of the shading here. So that's 1 hit, and the artillery is 3 to 4. The artillery is the third value here. So it is 3. So there's 2 hits have been put on that cavalry unit. And in defense, all we have is always -1 Allied hit. So we've got 2 hits from this card, 1 hit from the German card, -1 hit from the German card. So there's 1 hit on the cavalry. Now normally that would eliminate the cavalry, and because it's only got 1 step. However, you can convert a fire result to a retreat. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to retreat probably back to Peron, and yeah, we don't have to do anything else. We'll just sit there. And that's the fire combat. So we've had 2 of each. Now there's only 1 activation left because we have 3 Germans and 2 French. So the third one will be this guy moving, and I think we will move 1, 2, 3. But as I say, it's only forest and crossing rivers which cost any extra movement points. Everything's got 3 movement points as far as this solo game goes. So all those activations are done. We've finished with those activations. So we clear activations, and then we bring these hands back that we had before, and we will discard these 2 cards, and we'll draw 2 new cards, and off we go again. So it's a 5 versus a 2. Oh wow! So that's a 3 initiative again for the Allies, the French as is at the moment. So they can have 3 activations. That's interesting. So right, what should we do here? So I think firstly we need to cover this hole. We haven't got a lot here, just those brigades. So I think we will move 1 here for 1 activation. And then I think what we will do an assault with this unit, and we'll also with this unit. So both of these will move into the hex. So I'm not going to, yeah, physically they would move into the hex. I'm just going to keep them separate because it's easier to read, and this unit would as well. So we have an assault combat here. So again, it's very similar to fire combat. It's just you look at a different area of the card. So this is an attack and assault by the Allied combat, so the Allied side. So we look at assault attack, which is the 3rd area here. I can't really highlight it here. There we go. There. And on the German side, we have an assault defense, which is here. Now, the big difference with assault is that in assault defense, you will cause casualties to the attacker. Fire combat is usually just one way. So let's look at the results of this assault attack. Again, we had an event at the top, which is irrelevant because we didn't get another one on the German side. So if a larger size, so we're attacking with 2 units, but you don't attack with both units at the same time. You attack with one and then the other. So the first unit we'll do will be this one. So we are a bigger size. So that's 3 dots to 2 dots here. So we are a larger size, so that's 1 hit scored. If the MET rating, the morale, equipment and training rating, is an A, and it is on that core, it's an A. And if rifle equals 4, but rifle's only worth 2, so that's not a hit. So there's 2 hits on the assault at the moment. The assault defense is if the Germans are a larger size, they're not. If their machine gun is 3 to 4, and their machine gun is 4, so they do a hit back. It's not a cancellation of the Allied hit, it's actually a hit back. And a 1 if it's in heavy cover. So if we look here, we are in a city, and a city is medium cover. So no, that's not a hit. So the Germans at the moment do 1 hit, and here we have a -1 for the Allied hits in heavy or medium cover. So medium cover counts. So what that means is that the attack caused 2 casualties, reduced by 1 because of the cover. So that's 1 casualty, and then the defense caused one casualty as well, because of machine guns. So they both have a casualty here. Now, in this case, for assaults, retreats don't cancel hits, but you can retreat after each round. So what we do now is we place a casualty marker, we flip it up, and these are the negatives that that casualty marker is giving us. That will have that marker, and the German unit, the 9th Reserve, will have this marker. It's very similar, but they do have subtle differences to them as varying what they have. Now we have the 2nd unit here. So the 2nd unit is also fighting, and of course the casualties here. So what we could do is we could retreat the German unit so that we stop the combat, and it's only got one size left, so one hit will kill it. So I think that's what we'll do. So we will retreat with the casualty unit. We will retreat that unit, and these units, the activation should be on top, will occupy the hex. Now that's beyond the front line, so that's now French territory or Allied territory. And that's the end of that combat, and we've used up the 3 activations we had as a differential between 5 and 2. So now it's the Germans' turn. The Germans, what are they going to do? So I think we need to create, one thing we could do is we could actually reduce the casualties here by doing a regroup. I think that's what we'll do, is we will return that to casualties, so back to full strength, and that of course is an activation. Now we're back to the French, and the French I think probably want to bolster this hex a bit more, so we'll activate here and move those up there. So we've got 2 units there, and then finally, not finally, but the 2nd German, and I think we need more of these guys up here. I think this guy would be useful to bring down. So 1, 2, 3, and he's activated. Now finally it's the French turn, and maybe we should try and get to work, or what we could do is, yeah, I think we can't activate these guys. We might get this guy to fire on that guy there, because that's quite a good German unit. So let's go back to the combat, and we've got event, no event, and this is a firepower attack, and we are rifle 2 to 4, that's a hit, machine gun 4, that's a hit, artillery 2 to 4, that's a hit for the 2, 4, 3. So that's 3 hits coming in on the firepower. On the defense, if the unit has an MET of A, morale of A, it does, so that's -1 hit. If they're in heavy cover, and I don't think they are in any cover at all, so that is actually 2 hits on that core. So we could take 2 hits on the core itself, heavy casualties. It'll leave it a little bit denuded. Possibly what we might do is take a casualty and a retreat, I think, just to get out of there. So that's that was the last French activation, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So back to our hands, and yeah, go to the next cards. Gillian, yeah, it's that's right. It's an intriguing scenario. It's an intriguing situation, which isn't really that well represented in games, or just this particular bit. So I think it's worth a look at to break out, and you can kind of solo it. Anyway, let's get back to the next card. Turn 1, we have a 4 versus a 3. So a win on initiative by 1 for the French. So we will clear the activations from last turn, and this is what we're left with. So we seem to have a gap here, so probably the best thing to do would be to activate, oops, not everybody, just that unit, And let's move the casualty unit, that unit, and that unit together to occupy that hex. That's a second hex over the historical front line we've got here. And that's our first activation. It flips over to German, because we only had a difference of 1. So on the German side, I think what do we do here? So if I activate this guy here, he can move 3, but it's +1 to cross the river, so he can't get to that spot there. So what I might do is I might activate him, and he can go 1, 2, 3, and activate that spot. And that stops the French advancing into there. Back to the French, what are we going to do? So we have this spare corps here, really, aren't we? And I think what we'll do is we'll activate him and put him in here. Back to the Germans, they have 2 more activations here. I think, so what we could do, move this chap in here, I think. So move him to there. As you can see, there's a bit more work the Germans have to do early in the game to get their units into play. But once they're there, they do have a certain power, a bit greater power than the French units do. Anyway, that's that second activation. Third activation for the French. I think we have this chap here, which I think we will bring forward, and we'll put them here. So that's kind of the bone of contention here. That's the kink in the line. So we've got a second unit there to help. Back round to the Germans, and I think we will activate him. And I think we'll fire on. Let's fire on this C unit here. So place activation. No, not that one. So let's do some combat. So the German are an event. French don't this time. So firepower attack. Artillery is 3 to 4. That is the case. And if a higher elevation, that's not the case. In fact, the French are at high elevation. So 1 hit by the German unit. And in defense, we have, depending on the cover, we have negative hits. So let's have a quick look on. Yeah, there isn't actually no cover there. So it is 1 hit. And so this unit will retreat, I think. Probably go that way. Okay, that's all the German activations. We just got 1 more for the French. And the French, I think, we might do, is just remove that. Oh, no, we can't do that because he's already activated. Silly me. What can we do then? I think what we might do is we might fire here onto these guys. So activate that. And we're firing on those guys. Event, no events, that's fine. Firepower attack by the Allies here is artillery 2 to 4. Certainly is, it's a 3. Higher elevation, no. So 1 hit. In the defense is always -1 hit. So that ends up as a 0. So no, there's no effect there. End of that round. So we clear activations, bring our cards back, and get the next card over. And that's a 3 versus a 4. So 1 onto the German side. So you can see down in the south here that initiative card of 5 versus 2. That's the biggest you get in the game. That allowed this advance here. The cards are quite critical. Germans first, though. What are we going to do? I think what we might do is threaten up here, I think. So we will fire from here onto this unit here. And so the combat is firepower attack. Rifle 2 to 4, yes. Machine gun 4, yes. Artillery 2 to 4, yes. So that's 3 hits on this guy. Defense is -1 always. So 3 hits become 2 hits. And that's too much for that. That guy, even if he retreats to get rid of 1 hit, he's still going to be eliminated. So actually, this guy is eliminated. Let's get the eliminated box up here. And allied eliminated units, that territorial brigade is done. But there's no advance because this is an assault. It was only fire. Right. So what the French are going to do about that? Yeah, it's what's that guy doing there? Did I miss him out? Oh, let me just check. May have made a boo-boo there. So that's the 20th Corps. Oh yeah, sorry, I've missed him out. He should be in the south, so he should be there, and I've neglected to bring him on. But anyway, I will do that now. So place an activation marker and a 1, 2, 3, I think, up to here. Okay, back to the Germans. And I think we will probably do an assault here into that cavalry hex. So the cavalry have an option, I think, of retreating before combat. Just check. Fallback option, that's it. It's only fallback from fire. And it's only scouting cavalry that can do that, so normal cavalry don't. So yeah, this will just be a combat here. So let's bring these guys out, activate him. So let's pull these across. And so we have an assault attack, which is 542 to 4, is 1 hit, which it is, of course, it's a 3. And assault defense is quite something. So if a larger size, definitely not. If it's got SQ artillery, definitely does. So that's 1 hit back to the Germans. In heavy cover or higher elevation, so it's not higher elevation. Is it heavy cover? I doubt it, because that's a major city. It's only a standard city, it's only medium cover. So that doesn't cancel any. So it's 1. It's 1 hit each. So we need to place a casualties marker onto that cavalry. And a casualties marker with that German infantry. Now with assaults, because it's actually going on in the same hex, the combat continues unless somebody retreats, and I think it will be the cavalry to retreat, which will allow the German unit to take that hex. So as you can see, it's backwards and forwards here, isn't it, really? So that was the second German. So now it's the second Allied. And what shall we do? We could do... we need to keep this line solid down here, and we will struggle. I think what we might do is... So these guys can't move any further, so what I might do is just activate him, and they will go 1, 2, 3 to here. Yeah, we'll do that. So, interesting opportunity. So we have this cavalry unit which we could exploit with on the German side, or we could bully this guy here now, who's had a casualty already, and but I think I like the idea of trying trying to use that cavalry to widen the breach. So we'll activate that. 1, 2, 3. We avoided the no man's land here next to the French unit to get there. All right, French, that's the last activation. So we might do, I think it's fire that unit against the cavalry. So these, no event again. Firepower attack, rifle 3 to 4, no, it's only a 2. Machine gun 3 to 4, yes, it's a 4. Do you have a heavy artillery? And I think this is just SQ, so no. So it's only 1 hit for the rifles. In defense, Met A or B, and the cavalry is A, so that defeats 1. Heavy cover, it's not. So 1 hit cancelled out, and so that's no effect. So the cavalry live to fight another day. Right, and I think the Germans have one more turn. So what I think we'll do is we'll actually activate and bring this guy in. Otherwise, it's just not going to have any effect at all for the turn and be stuck there. Right, so that's our activations done. Bring our cards back and discard those. I think this might be the last card. Yes, it's a 3 and a 4. So again, German initiative 1 time. So yeah. So German initiative first. What are we going to do? Well, the good move I think here is to activate this unit and move it 3, 1, 2, 3 to get into that hex. That also means that this cavalry could move forward if necessary, and that kind of consolidates the crossing of the historical front line. So that's the start. What do we do as the French? I think what we need to do is to get this unit into the line. So 1, 2, 3 plugs the gap, so we don't get any exploitation. What do the Germans do now then? Okay, so we've got a lot of vulnerable hexes, as in there's a lot of attackers around these hexes. I think we should threaten here. I think we will do that by doing a regroup on this unit and returning that. So we're full strength here, and that looks a bit menacing. Right, that's the second. So the second German, so the second French. Oh, difficult. Yeah, that hex is vulnerable. So is that. But if we look at the terrain underneath, our bear is probably more valuable than that other hex. So I don't think we need to do anything. This unit here is fine. We'll probably activate this guy to fire onto the reserve here. It's only a 2-step unit, so you never know. So let's do that. And we have a firepower attack, rifle 2 to 4. It is. It's 2. Higher elevation. No, it's actually a lower elevation. And do they have a heavy artillery? I doubt it. No, it's SQ artillery. So just 1 hit, and the firepower defense is on the German card here is META. No, it's a B. Is it heavy cover or medium cover? So just looking at the underlying, that's no cover at all. So it is 1 hit. So let's take that hit. We'd like to keep that hex if we can. And what do we do on the German side for their activation? Third activation, I think, main thing to do, I think, is to get rid of this, but we can't because it's activated. But we do have the cavalry to help. I think we put pressure down here. I think we need to fight this guy. So we will fire across the river. The river doesn't do anything for fire, but it does do for assault. Although we wouldn't want to move this guy, would we? He's activated anyway. We can't do anything with him. We'll just fire here, I think. place an activation marker there, and let's see what the cards do for us. Still no event. So the attack is rifle 4, no, it's a 3. Machine gun 4, artillery 4, yes, so that's 2 hits. Firepower defense is Met A or B. So this is an A, but it's now a B because you've got the -1 on the casualty marker here. But a B is good enough, so that's -1 on that. And is there heavy cover? No. So we had 2 hits and only 1 cancel. So there is another hit. So we could retreat or we could take the casualty. And I think we will flip the casualty mark. And as you see, the numbers are much, much worse. However, almost everything's activated around here. And so for the French, I think it's their third. This is their last, yes. The last activation. I think what we'll do is we'll just activate this to regroup. To flip over back to light casualties and leave it like that. And we're left with the last activation for the Germans. We can't activate infantry anymore. They've been activated. The cavalry. So we could do a fire down here, but it's not a very good unit. I think we'll probably activate for fire here onto the 16th Corps there. So cards again. Event. Now we have an event, and that event is the total of the 2 numbers in the top of the cards. That's a 7. So 7 is a significant number. So we complete the combat first. So firepower attack from the Germans is rifle 3 to 4, yes. Machine gun 3 to 4, yes. Heavy artillery, and they do have that value without that emblem, without the SQ, so it's heavy artillery. So 3 hits, wow. In defense, Met A or B, it's an A, so that's fine, -1. And heavy cover, I don't think it is, because I think Albert is just a normal city, so that's medium cover. So that's 3 -1, 2 hits. 2 hits on that core. Ouch. We're just going to have to take it, I'm afraid. So flip that to heavy, and we put that unit there, and there we go. So that's all the activations done. As you can see, we have no more cards to pull. So we end up at the end phase. And the end phase, we pull up the reference card. I forgot. Actually, we do have the event 7, don't we? So what's important is who's the highest of these values. And the 4 for the Allies is bigger than the 3 for the Germans. So it's a French event, and the 7 is quite interesting. So if we switch the event results, a 7. So on the 7, the player who drew the higher number event, that's the Allies, 1 of 3 options of choice. So planned operations. So that's a special chit that allows you to do double moves. It's very nice. You take it and you will place it at the end of the turn to use at the beginning of the following turn. You can seize the initiative, so we can get the strategic momentum, which is currently German, over to the French. We can reorganize, which is we can remove 3 hits, or we can rebuild a unit up to size 3. And that's quite a big deal. I think we might do reorganization, to be honest, because we've been taking a few casualties here. So yes, I think we'll do that. We'll do reorganization. So that's 2 hits removed and 1 hit removed from here. Doesn't matter if they're activated or anything like that. So that kind of restores, if you like, the line a bit. Clear our activations, and we've done that event. So now we've finished and we're into the end phase. So the end phase, we were going to look at the reference card. Yeah, so the player aid. And so, okay, on the end phase, we do Siege of Antwerp test. So the tests are on the turn track, and the turn track is actually empty here, so we don't actually do a roll for Siege of Antwerp. And we don't do a roll for Foch Takes Command either. And then we have Force March. So the player with strategic momentum, which is the Germans at the moment, gets to decide who goes first here. And this is a number of units that you can move. Now, to be honest, there's a decent spread of units at the moment anyway, so I'm not sure it's going to be that interesting. And I think the Germans will let the French go first. So we pull a combat card, but we only care about the top corner number, which is an 11. And if we look on the Allied page, an 11 here, I'm not sure we can highlight, number 8 to 11 allows 2 units to be moved. Great, but I'm not sure that's all that interesting, to be honest. I really like where they are, really. Yes, I think I'll stick with that. Yeah, no, we'll stick with that, I think. So on the German side, we have a 4, and the 4 on the German reference A card is 2 units as well. Interesting. Do we want to do anything here? So I think we might want to move the cavalry off. And so it can move 1 hex or 2 hexes if it doesn't cross a river. So I think what we'll do is we just plonk it here, just threatening to move around here. The Allies need to do something for the next turn. Right. Okay, so other thing we do is we replenish our hands. So let's just do these draws. And of course, we take 1 card and discard it immediately. That's not available to us. Right. So back to, I think that's just now. We didn't take the planned operations, so we don't need to do that. Fog of War is about getting everybody back to hidden status, but we're not doing that because it's solo. I can't really hide it from myself. And so we advance the marker step and go on to reinforcements for the second turn. So let's move that mark. The marker's stuck over here, should have been there. So we move that to the second turn, and we've got quite a lot of reinforcements here to deal with. As you can see underneath here, we've got the Siege of Antwerp and the Foch Takes Command roll numbers here to do towards the end of the turn. Okay, so some German units. We have 5 German units here, including the Guard Corps, which is great. We actually have British cavalry here as well now, so the French. Now these, we have to check the reinforcement schedule to see where they come on. That's in the rule book. Have a quick look. So reinforcements. So I'm going to into all the French and the British are from the South Entry hex. So they all will go on that big arrow at the bottom. Yep. And for the Germans, though, there is a difference here. Germans come on. Turn 2 on the rail line. Yeah, everything on the rail line. So as we were before, oh, actually no, some of them come in Lefebvre. So the 18th Corps and 2nd Cavalry come in on the fair, which is down here. So 18th Corps and the Cavalry. So those guys come down a nice, rather convenient position. And for the others, they're spread on this rail line. So we'll put the guards at Cambrai. We'll put the 4th Corps Valenciennes and the reserve at Mons. Remember, you only put one in each hex except for Mons. We can overstack in Mons. That's the reinforcements. And next we do the Allied rail. So 4 steps worth of unit can be transported. So what have we got here? We've got 3s, 2s and 1s. So we do have a 2 and the cavalry. I probably prefer one of the big French corps and the British cavalry. And we could travel to any other spot on any other city or town on the rail line. So the British cavalry, I think, will go zooming up here all the way around and to we can't go adjacent, I believe, so we'll go to Bethune. This guy here, probably Amiens is the best. We can't fit into Albert. That's got 5 size steps in it. We can only a maximum of 6, so it can't go there. So I think we will bring this guy to here, and everybody else is stuck on the entry hex, and that's our railroad in here. So I think what I'll do is I'll just do another turn, and that'll be the playthrough. And if everybody is interested, I can bring this back at some future time for going through the scenario a bit further. But let's just do one more turn here. And we have the reference card. It's down the bottom here. So bid initiative card and then the action round. So we get to the meat of the turn again. Let's bring our card stacks around. You'll note that the Allied and German combat, they've run out of cards. All we do is we just shuffle and return, and those come back. So let's have a look at the first card. So we've got a 5 for the Allies. Oh, there's another big 3 difference here. So that's quite something there. What can we do? Okay, so we've got this unit here, which has only got 1 step left. So I think we will activate that guy to fire. Let's see how that turns out. Fire combat, higher elevation, no. Heavy artillery, and no, it's got the SQ, so no hits. So that was ineffective. No, that's not a good start. Okay, let's do the 20th Corps then. Or what we could do is we could assault here. I think we might do that. So let's assault here. Add an activation. So let's take these guys out to the side so we can see what we're doing. Right, so let's roll for Allied and German combat for attack. So the Allied attack, if larger size, certainly is 4 pips to 1 is a hit, and if rifle 3 and 4, so that's not. That's only a 2. So 1 hit for the assault attack and assault defense here. If larger size, of course not. Machine gun 2 to 4, and it is still 4 because it's an A-1 on the casualty marker. So that's a hit back. Are they in heavy cover? They are not. So they trade one hit each, and of course that actually does eliminate this unit. So bring up our casualties. So maybe I shouldn't have moved that cavalry from from that hex last turn. Okay, so he takes a hit though. something. Not a very, that's quite a nice light casualties unit there. So that's second activation there. I think probably third activation would be, I think we might move that guy up there. Can we fit? Let's check. All the windows are in front. No, we can't. That's 7, so that can't happen. So he was there, wasn't he? We do need somebody extra here. I think we might activate this guy then. So yeah, just to give it a bit of a hand. And there we go. That's 3 activations. So the German first one, oh gosh, the first thing we need to do is get that line plugged. So let's activate the guards and move them here. Back to the French for their 4th, and I think we need to get this guy into the line. Find that particularly vulnerable, so we'll move that up there. Okay, so what do the Germans do? We could regroup that unit. I'll worry about the British cavalry up here as well. I think we will, yeah, we'll fix this guy. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So is that? Yeah, German just has 2 activations. So that's it. And that's the French final one. I think the French final one, I think we'll activate the British cavalry here, and let's move forward. Let's move across the line here. It's come up with a German activation mark. I don't know why, but never mind. That's 5 to 2. That's the first round done. Let's clear the activation, and let's bring back the cards. Where are they gone? There we go. Discard those. So there's always 5 cards played in a turn, 5 action rounds, 5 cards. Now this is a 3-3. So when you have a draw, we go to the strategic momentum. And the strategic momentum, if we look up here, is German at the moment. So that means that only 1 activation happens, and it's going to be German. So yeah, let's put these out of the way. So 1 German activation. I suppose we need to get this guy into. Oh, we've got these guys as well, haven't we? Yeah, I kind of fancy. I want to put some pressure down here. So these reinforcements coming in, I want to distract them. Come down here. So maybe I'll. What I might do is not move any of them. What I might do is do a combat here. So we'll fire on these guys. 14th call. So let's get rid of the elimination box. And 2 cards through. Oh, we have an event, and it's a 1-5, so that's 6 total, and it'll be a German controlled event. But anyway, let's get back to this. It's a German attack, so firepower of rifle of 2 to 4, yes. Machine gun 4, yes. And artillery 2 to 4, yes. So that's 3 hits onto the 18th core. Are we in any kind of cover? Well, I don't believe we are. So no, it's a clear hex. So that is 3 hits. That would eliminate that unit. So I think to keep the unit, I think we'll withdraw him and add 2 casualties. Nope. There we go. And well, that's a result, isn't it, for that short turn. Clearly activated, and back to our cards. And draw another card, 2 to 4. Oh, so there's a lot of, there was a big French push at the start, but the Germans have a lot of initiative here. So, wow, well, first things first, we've got to take that hex. So we'll push back there for one. I feel we should be pushing back on others. So here, I think we will fire here on this unit. Oh, we forgot to do the event, didn't we? Keep doing that. For last turn, let's just see what it is. Event results is a 6. Player who drew the hard number event may move any unit 1 hex in any legal direction. No combat. That's it. Yeah, stacking unit must be observed. So actually, we could use. So I think possibly what we might do is just move this guy back. We forgot to do that, didn't we? So that was from last round. What we were doing here, I think I might switch that activation up to there now, and we'll do a fire onto the 6th reserve there. So where were we? Yeah, we were about to do the cards. So no event. Firepower from the Germans here. Rifle 2 to 4, yes. If heavy artillery, I'm pretty sure. Higher elevation, no. So just remove the artillery marker. Yeah, we have heavy artillery marker, so it's 2 hits. And the combat back is META. So no, that's a B. And cover, there is no cover. So that's 2 hits on it. So we need to take 1 casualty. And we'll need to retreat him as well. So let's put him back there as well. So yeah, that's the second activation. And now it's the French for their first activation. So, gosh, I think, well, we haven't got any danger here because that unit's activated. But we have some units here we need to bring in, I feel. We could be sneaky and we'll activate this guy. And we'll just move him back in. So let's just get them separated. Because that casualty marker isn't a big deal there. So, and it's a 4-step unit, not 3 now. So let's just do that. That's probably quite irritating. What did we reply with? I think we need to get this guy into the fight, I think. So let's activate him. 1, 2, 3. Get him there. So that's 3. So the French have 1 more, and then the Germans have 1. We really need to bring some of these guys up. So I'm going to 1, 2. We'll put 1 there. Over here. I think we might be fire at this cavalry. This guy. Also, there is an event. It's an 8, 4 plus 4, and the attack itself. If artillery is 4, we get a hit. It is, so it's 1 hit. And the cavalry met A or B. We are still A, so that stops that. Heavy cover doesn't matter, so that's a cancel. 1 hit and 1 hit cancelled, so no effect. But we then have our event. Let's see what the event is. An 8. Steel Rain. So German player inflict 1 hit who adjacent to a German unit with heavy artillery, special artillery rating. Right, so we just do a hit. can be activated. So we could do a hit on that cavalry unit and remove it. We could do a hit on this core here, and I think we will do. So this gets an extra hit, which means it is eliminated. Good enough. Okay, and I think that's all. 1, 2. Yeah, there's only 2 French activations. Yeah. So back again. How are we doing in chat here? Thanks, Jim. Yeah, interested to see more of this. It is quite interesting. It's a very different take on doing things. It's just not attack and defense modifiers. It's all about the capabilities of the units and the size of them. French coming back, and then a 5, big 5 coming to each. So still German initiative, but there's going to be quite a lot of activations here. German activations first. Let's clear those. So what have we got? Still got our guys here, which we haven't used. What we could do, 1, 2, 3, and then we could fire and then assault, possibly. That's still a very strong unit. Interesting. That's only a 2 unit there, so I think we will possibly fire on it. Let's activate this unit and fire here. 3 to 4, yes. Higher elevation, no. So 1 hit. Defense is Met A or B. It's an A, so that cancels that. So no effect. So French turn. I think the best thing to do would be to fix that guy. So back to the Germans. I was wondering here we could do an assault with the infantry unit on that cavalry unit. Possibly. What we could do, we could activate the cavalry unit and move to Vimy. Back to the French. So be careful with the British cavalry here. So we may have a fight with the cavalry here, or could we possibly look to do something about this guy? No, I think we need more people in that case. We're a bit lacking. If we activate him, move him there, it gives a bit more flexibility. Back to the Germans. Yeah, the Germans. Well, let's go for a assault here, I think. So let's move the cards. No event. So assault attack by the Germans. Larger size, yes. Met A or B, yes. And rifle 4, no. So 2 hits. And the assault defense here. If larger size, no. If rifle 3 to 4, yes. So it's a 3 on that cavalry unit. So that's 1 hit back. Any cover or higher elevation reduces a step. So I think we're in cover. Yeah, Labasset is light cover, so that's -1. So we have 2 German hits, 1 of them cancelled, and then the Germans had 1 hit against them. Now the cavalry have only got one step, so they actually die. the river adds a cover level, so it would have had light cover in La Bassée, but the river would have qualified as medium cover, one level up. That didn't make any difference, unfortunately. Um, so they take La Bassée back. This is Gate to the Casualties. And yeah, well, we've got activations being done here, so there's no immediate movement, but certainly something needs to be done here from the French side. So second activation, should be third activation, I think, for the French. Did we do? Did we activate? Two. Is that an activation for the French, possibly? So I think that activation would have been this. Up to here, I think. And so that's 2 French activations, 2, 3. So there was one more French. I did get it out of sync. We really should bring this guy in. I think we'll bring him there for an activation. And German's 4th activation. I think the guards, maybe these guys, I think, will fire on that call. Let's see what happens. Heavy artillery in higher elevation. We've got heavy artillery, but it's not higher elevation, it's lower elevation, so 1 hit. And the firepower defense is -1 always, so that cancels. No effect there. Right, that would be 1, 2, 3, yes. So this is the 4th. We'll activate this guy and just clean his whistle a bit. And I think last activation to the Germans, I think we'll activate the guards just to fire on the 20th court there. So artillery 2 to 4, yes. Higher elevation, no. In defense, heavy or medium cover. I don't think there's any cover there. No, it's blank, so that's 1 hit. Oops. Right, and that's that round. And we'll move onto the cards again. Close to the end of turn here. Yep, this is the last card. 3 to 4, so Germans initiative again. Yeah. How are we doing with the gun? There's one chap back here. Which would be nice to move, but he's not going to have any effect on the turn there. We have this chap who could. I think we've got to go in for a penny in for a pound here. So I think 4th Corps is going to march into an assault there. And so let's see the result. So no event. Assault attack on the by the Germans. Larger size. Yep, it's 2 to 1. META, it's not. It's a B because it's a -1. So that makes it a B. So no. Rifle 4. Rifle is not 4. Machine gun 4 would normally, but again, that casualty marker makes it a 3. So only 1 hit. Assault defense. Rifle 4 definitely not. SQ artillery, it does have SQ artillery, so that's a hit back. And heavy cover. That's Bethune, so no, it's not heavy cover. And heavy cover reduces, so no. So it's one hit each. So that actually eliminates the cavalry. And this gets a second hit. But they are in possession of Bethune. With, and that needs an activation mark, of course, with some clear country in front of them. Interesting. So, wow, that's going to be taking needs some repair there. Okay, what do we do? So on the French side, we've got 3 activations here. And the first thing we need to do is we need to actually cover that hole. So we can do that with, can we? 1, 2, 3, can't get there. Any card could get there is C. And so what we need to do is take this guy, activate him 1, 2, 3. So that we can then move the other guy to help. Back to the Germans who have, wow, quite a, so they could activate this cavalry, although they're a little stretched on their line. I'm not sure they can go very much further. I think we will just hit the rest of the line, I think. So we'll activate these guys, the 1st Bavarian to attack 20th Corps, I think. Yes, so let's see. We have an event, and the event is 5 for the Germans. But the firepower attack, rifle 3 to 4, it is. Machine gun 3 to 4, it is. Heavy artillery, pretty sure it is. Yeah, so that's 3 hits. And the defense for firepower, heavy cover or medium cover. I think this is still stuck out in the middle of nowhere. So that's 3 hits. Wow. So that produces. The way this works is you flip that to heavy casualties, and you introduce another casualties marker, and I think we would then retreat. So we would put them all there. So that's significant as well. The line is buckling on the French side, absolutely. Gosh. Okay, so on the French side, I don't think we can get that hex back. We could regroup this guy. And this guy can only get as far as Albert, couldn't he? Yeah. It's tricky. I think maybe we got to admit we lose that hex. I think sure we can do anything about it. So I think we will activate this guy, and we'll move him on top of there. Provides extra defense. Gem activation, 3rd activation. It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? So let's activate here and move in. Take that hex back to the French. And the French, what they were going to do was take that territorial unit and move him 1, 2. Oh, damn! It's woods. You can't get there. All you can get to is there. That's annoying. Yeah, that woods hex costs 2 movement, and then you've got 3 movement. And if he moves here, the no man's land here will stop him moving any further. Actually, this is the last few activations, so maybe they need to be there. Probably does, because I don't think we'll be able to railroad into Harzebruck next turn. So yeah, he needs to be there. Okay, so the Germans, I think, what should we do? I think what we'll do is we'll bring this guy up, certainly. 3 movement points into Valenciennes. Probably there, I think. Okay, so that's all the rounds, all the activations. So we just have the end phase now. So we collect our cards. And ready them for next turn. And we can discard one of them immediately. That's done. Then we have our rolls for Antwerp and Foch. So for Siege of Antwerp, we pick a German card, and we need a 1 or a 2. Sorry, 12 definitely not. And Foch takes command just on a 1. We did on the French card. A 5, no. So neither of those situations have resolved each other. And they prepared deployments, but we didn't plan deployments. Offensive, sorry. But we do have the force march, which might be very useful. So let's do that. We'll have to reshuffle these 2 decks. And so who's going to go first? I think the Germans would like to go first, I think. So an 11, that's very good. Possibly 3 units there. Let's have a look. And the German player 8. 11, 9 to 12 is 3 units. So yeah, 3 units to move. That's very welcome. So that's 1 hex or 2 hexes if you're not crossing a river. So this guy is crossing a river. So we're going to Tournai. That's 1 unit. This guy's crossing a river, so we'll move to there. And so is this guy. Probably move to there. That'll do. And on the French side, let's see, their force marches is an 11 as well. It's not as good. I think it's only 2 units for the French. The Allies, sorry. 8 to 11 is 2 units. Yeah, only a 12 is 3 units. So 2 units to move. Certainly we'll move him 2 hexes. What can we do other than that? Not a lot. We've got quite a stretched line here, with the exception of here. What we might do is move this guy out. And the reason being is that when you do a regroup, normally you remove 1 casualty marker. However, if you're not adjacent to an enemy unit, you can actually remove 2. So moving him out means he'll repair quicker. So even though it weakens the front line, that's actually quite a good move. Right, so that's that. All we have now is the game turn marker to move, and that's 2 turns of Race to the Sea 1914. So it's great that Julian, the Tannenberg game is Steamroller Tannenberg, I think it is. I'm not sure if it's by Flying Big Games, I think possibly, I'm not sure. Yes, uses this system. I think this game was the kind of prototype. So this was the first version of this type of game, and Tannenberg is the second. Anyway, I've probably used up enough of your time. Thanks very much for joining and watching here. Sorry, the bit of disappointment we didn't get the Great War in Europe going, but hopefully Pat will be available for Tweezer Thursday, and I'll be issuing the invites out shortly for that. And it's been a great evening. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on Blue Tweezers. But until that time, bye for now.